Alright guys, welcome to the Disney Villains Q&A. This is gonna be a huge-ass Q&A, I'm not gonna lie. This is probably one of my biggest. Nearly 60 questions, wow. So, yeah, just to let everybody know, in case someone's question wasn't asked, answered, that usually means YouTube either marked it as spam or didn't have it at all, so in case someone's question wasn't answered, then, yeah, it's YouTube's fault, sorry. But anyway, let's dive right into this with King Nazaru, who asked, what would Hades think of the clever bots? He'd probably hate them and set them all on fire. I can think of no better response to that. How do you think Maleficent and her council of Disney villains would react if they learned Master Xehanort, I always mispronounce that name, Xehanort, fuck it, I can't pronounce that name, manipulated them in his plans to recreate the X-Blade? Oh, they'd all be pissed, but there was nothing they could do. There's really nothing they could do with him, against him, excuse me. So, yeah, they just have to grin and bear it. Third question. If you were to do an animated version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde musical with Anthony Warhol reprising the role, how would you stay tuned to the true ending or give Jekyll a happy ending? This doesn't really go into Disney villains. This is more like an animated film, so I'm going to discredit it because it's not really centered around a Disney villain per se. It's more like me trying to do an animated film of now, this would probably be more accurate if it was with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but yeah. Anyway, thank you for those questions regardless. King Nazaru. Moving on now to Darth Venom, who asks, which Disney villains from animated movies, Disney Studios, Pixar, etc., do you think have the most terrifying death scenes? I think Clayton from Tarzan gets high points because the dude got hung. Literally, the dude got hung. Dr. Facilier got sent to hell, technically. Yeah, he got dragged to hell. Before there was Drag Me... No, I think Drag Me to Hell came out before Princess and the Frog, but still, that's still of a bad way to go. Who else had a really bad one? Oh yeah, Syndrome from Incredibles got sucked into a turbine. That's a shitty way to go. So those ones really stick out to me, honestly. Second question, who are your top 5 Disney Pixar villains? In no order, I don't really have an order for them, but I'd say Hopper from Bug's Life, Lotso from Toy Story 3, Stinky, Prospector, Stinky Pete from Toy Story 2, Sid from Toy Story 1. Again, this is in no order. Who else in the list that really stuck out to me in terms of Pixar villains? Wasn't really a big villain in Finding Nemo. It wasn't really that. Can't really think of others that really, in terms of Pixar villains, that really stuck out to me in any others. It's just those, really. Anyway. Second question. Oh wait, that was your second question. Third question. What would happen if Darth Vader and Emperor Zurg met each other? Oh, that would be hilarious. I think Vader and Zurg would just be like, oh, you son of a bitch. Also, oh god, I forgot to mention this, nearly 4 minutes in, I nearly forgot this. I don't know if the mic's picking this up or not, but if you hear any, weird sounds, that's coming from my fan, because, I usually shut it off when I'm recording, but this is going to be a Q&A, so I figured, oh man, this is going to take a while, so if you hear any, odd noises coming from the mic, that means, that's the fan, so I do apologize for that, but there was no way I was going to do this Q&A and be like, oh man, I could not, because I've done Q&As before I got my new fan, and that was torture, so I'm not doing that again, especially with a Q&A this long. But anyway, getting back to the question, I totally forgot to mention that beforehand. Stupid me. So getting back to this, Darth Venom. Darth Venom's third question. What if Vader and Zurg met? That'd be hilarious. I would just love to see that. Anyway, so thank you for those questions. Darth Venom. Moving on now to Ridley Carade, 187. Hope I'm saying that name right. I apologize. Draken, Doof, Ludo, Hater, and Gideon are stranded on a deserted island together. Who dies first? Who kills who? And who is the last man standing? I'd have to say Gideon would be the one who would try to, manipulate everybody, because Draken or Gideon would be the two. Doof, Hater, and Ludo are not the smartest tools in the shed, so I think it would be Draken. It would come down to Draken and Gideon trying to kill each other. And Draken can be a little stupid at times. He can be smart. Anyway. So, yeah, that's how I kind of see it. I think either Draken or Gideon would probably survive. Anyway. Second question. How do you think the more recent Disney villains like Hans or Bellwether are not as memorable as the others in the past, like Facilier, Gothel, King Candy, and Kylo Ren? Okay, I guess you could... I don't know if you can count Kylo Ren in... I don't know if you can count Kylo Ren in the in the Disney... I mean, yeah, they're owned by Disney, but I'd like to think that they're Star Wars characters on their own, Anyway... but I'm actually glad someone asked me this, because I've always thought of this, like, King Candy wasn't that memorable either. He was just there. Like, his reveal that he was Turbo the whole time, I was just like, man, I just don't care. You weren't even threatening to begin with. But Gothel and Facilier, I can buy. I mean, I wasn't the biggest Tangled fan, but, yeah, Gothel was interesting. What was I going to say about the rest? I think the problem is that we haven't really had a lot of big that's the problem, is that Disney's known for big-time villains, and now we've had this severe lack of them recently. So I just am kind of like, can we get villains again? Is that a possibility? Anyway, so thank you for that question, and I already answered Pixar villains, so thank you for that regardless. Thank you for those questions, Ridley. Moving on now to Ira Sutton, asking, considering the way Captain Hook is portrayed in Jake and the Neverland Pirates, do you think it's possible that he could be removed from the Disney villain line? I've never watched that show because, I don't know, it's for a very young audience, so I still consider him Disney villain Disney villain material from, thanks to Peter Pan. So, yeah, I still keep him there, because it's still, to me, at least. Anyway, second question. I personally think that Oogie Boogie's death is the most disgusting and repulsive Disney villain death of all time. What are your thoughts? Yeah, that's another one that's got to go. He literally got skinned alive, and then his body literally caved in on itself of all these bugs. You want to know something really weird? I recently found this out when I found the reels for Nightmare Before Christmas deleted scenes. And I don't know how many people know this, but apparently one of the alternate ideas for Oogie Boogie was that it was going to be revealed that it was Dr. Fickelstein the whole time, that that Oogie Boogie was really Dr. Fickelstein, who was jealous that, Sally cared more for Jack than she did for him. And, yeah, at first it sounds like an interesting twist, but at the same time you're like, that would have gone nowhere. And the writers realized this and decided, yeah, we're not doing that. Anyway, but they did record, they did record some of the stuff, the lines of how that would have gone, and I love the moment where Fickelstein goes, "'Cause of you, you boneheaded twit." I don't know, that just got me. Anyway. But, yeah, that death is up there. Third question. Why is it you think most Disney villains can't have sad or sympathetic backstories? I don't know, because I think the whole Disney line is that it has to be, black and white. It has to be, there's no gray areas. As much as I'd like to see that, I'll give DreamWorks this, is that there's some, at least with, some of the villains in DreamWorks animated movies, especially in Kung Fu Panda, you see some gray areas with all the villains. Anyway. So, yeah, I guess they just want to say good guy's good, bad guy's bad. Anyway, I had to get some water. So, thank you for those questions, Ira. Moving on now to Jason Voorhees 2011, who asks, what are your top 3 Disney cartoon villains? Disney cartoon era villains, alright. Goes as followed. Mirage, Bill Cipher, no, and again, no order, I should say. In no order. Mirage, Bill Cipher, and... That last one, I thought I had all of them, but Mirage and Bill would be up there, and I don't know who would be my third one. Maybe either Negaduck or Lord Dominator. No, take that back. Here's the list: Dominator, no, not Bill Scythe, not Dominator. Damn it. Okay, now I've got it all thought out because I nearly forgot about this. So here's the list: Mirage, Bill Cipher, and Xanatos. And David Xanatos. There you go. Or you could switch it with Demona. It's flexible there. Yeah, as much as I like the other villains, those three really kind of are the cut above the rest in terms of cartoon-era villains. Second question. Which Disney villains could you see as villains for the Teen Titans? Okay, Mirage, Bill, Dominator, Toffee, who else? I guess maybe Tailspin version of Shere Khan. That'd be fun. Anyway, so second question. Which Disney villains could you see becoming Horsemen of Apocalypse? Dominator? Dominator. Because I already said, she'd be Death in the Redux, as I said. Demona. Demona's another... Yeah, Demona. Negaduck for shits and giggles, and... Shigo. From Kim Possible, yeah. So anyway, thank you for those questions, Jason. Moving on now to Andrew Varney, who asks, how might the following characters react to Bill Cipher? Stephen and Connie, Phineas and Isabella, Powerpuff Girls, Randy Cunningham, Penn and Sashi, the Doctor, and last but not least, Spider-Man. They'd all be terrified of him. They would all just be completely terrified of Bill. Just utter terror. Alright. Peridot meets Dr. Draken and Doofenshmirtz. What's hijinks ensue? Nothing good and things are going to blow up. That is how this little meeting's going to go. Things are going to go boom. More or less. That's literally what's going to happen here. Third question. How terrifying would it be if the Horned King, from of course Black Cauldron, allied with the following baddies: Yellow Diamond, Chernobog, Abridged-Cell, Davros, Golden Frieza, Ganondorf, and 80 Skeletor. That'd be like frickin' Masters of Evil right there, man. That's all I need to say, it's frickin' evil. Alright, thank you for those questions, Christian Sager. Moving on now to... thank you for those questions, Andrew Varney. Moving on now to Christian Sager, who asks, what if the old Aladdin cartoon, instead of being a genie killer being Mirage, it was Bill? How would Genie react to him, and do you think he'd be a bigger threat or not? Well, considering that, Bill could literally make all of time and space his bitch, and he killed the living embodiment of time in a one-hit KO, he would be a very big threat. He would be downright terrifying. He would just be downright horrible. He would just be this unstoppable monster. So, yeah. So thank you for that. Second question is, do guys like Darth Vader and Doctor Doom technically count as Disney villains now? What with Disney getting their mitts on their franchises? You see, here's the thing. There are Disney Marvel and Star Wars. Man, I just can't talk today. Marvel and Star Wars, being owned by Disney, I still count them as their own things. I like to think of them as their own things, for the most part. They're still under the Disney properties, but I guess they're not part of the Disney universe, or Disney... So, that's kind of how I see it, really. Anyway, third question. What if Shere Khan met Scar? Catfight, but not in the fun way. Okay, basically he's asking who would win in a fight, Shere Khan or Scar. I'm giving it to Shere Khan. Scar can't fight. He has to use dirty tactics, and he's clearly said, when it came to, when it came to brains, I got the lion's share, but when it comes to brute strengths, I'm afraid I'm the shot on. I totally fucked that up. You know what I mean. Yeah. So he got the brains, but he didn't get the brawn. He had to resort to dirty tactics when he fought Simba. So and we've seen that Shere Khan can fight, so I'd give it to Shere Khan. Anyway, Thank you for those questions, Christian. Moving on now to Grodhanks, who asks, aside from Mosenrath and Mirage, are there any other villains from the Aladdin animated series that you enjoyed? A few. Moncho was one of them, the giant winged serpent thing. I cannot remember. Mechanicles, he was just fun. Because he felt like, honest to God, I feel like he was in the wrong series. Like, he should have been in the Hercules series, honestly. Yeah. Anyway. So those to name a few. The Genie Killer was also pretty cool when he showed up in about, 2 episodes? Anyway. So moving on, second question. If Negaduck ever decided to make a new lineup for the Fearsome Five, starring other Disney villains, who do you think would be on that team? So who would be the other 4 members of the Fearsome Five? Of the new Fearsome Five, excuse me. It would have to be people he can control. It would have to be people that he could, manipulate. So I would say Lord Hater. Lord Hater would be on that team. Doof, Draken. That's 3 right there. One more. And Don Carnage from Tailspin. There you go. Third question. Don't know if you've watched Motor City or not, but what do you think of Xanatos would think of Abraham Kane? You see, here's the thing. I wanted to watch Motor City, and I was just kind of like, this was in the point where Disney XD was just doing nothing for me. So I came into Motor City late, and I feel bad that I did because I recently went back and watched it, and I was like, this is really good. Why did it get canceled? Oh, damn it. But Abraham Kane and Xanatos would be buddy-buddy. That's all I can say. Thank you for those questions, Grodhanks. Moving on now to Jalen Ford, who asks, which Disney villains do you think is the evil trinity? Good. Glad you asked. This is who I call the Trinity of Evil in terms of cartoon villains for Disney. Bill, Dominator, and Toffee. There you go. Right there. Bill, Dominator, and Toffee. I like to call them the Trinity of Evil. Anyway, second question. What is your favorite Disney villain of all time? My favorite Disney villain of all time. It used to be Shere Khan, and then it's kind of dropped for a bit. I would have to say, of how chillingly terrifying he is, Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Because the scary thing is that he's a very real person, in the sense that he's this religious maniac who believes anyone who doesn't believe in God should be punished horribly, and then at the same time he's a fucking hypocrite because he wants to literally have sex with a younger woman who's of a different faith, as well as the very people he's persecuting, and uses his place in political power to, manipulate things. He's a very real person. It's a very real villain. So that's what's really scary about him. So the more I've kind of thought about it, probably Frollo, of just how terrifying he is. Also, Hellfire for the win. That's all I need to say. Third question. Which villain would you take on a date? Dominator, if I don't get killed. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Jalen. Moving on now to Carlotta Studios, who asks, what would Maleficent and Master Cyclonus think of each other? Also, what if they traded powers? Well, I can only imagine what it would be like for Cyclonus to have a giant dragon form. But those two would not get along. It'd be like 2 alpha females colliding with one another, and the end result would just not be fun for anyone on any side of the board. It would just not be fun for anyone. Alright. Second question. Imagine Claude Frollo getting stuck in the Game of Thrones universe. How long is he going to last? Actually, I think he could last pretty far. That's the scary thing, is that he could probably last pretty far if he joined that group, the Faith, in King's Landing. I can't remember what they're called, but they keep the faith, and they're brutal. So, if he hooked up with those guys, I think he would be totally fine. Anyway. So, now I see that you're a fan of Game of Thrones. That's another thing you've revealed. Third question. Does Kaa count as a Disney villain? If you think he does, here's my real question. Why is he the second biggest player in all of Disney, first being Jim Hawkins? I just don't get it. How does a snake get that much ass? Well, okay. Here's the reason. Here's the real reason. How do I explain this? How do I explain this? I think the big reason of why Ka, a lot of people like Ka with a lot of people, were they male or female, is, Vor. Yeah, people just love seeing Ka eat people. That's kind of the thing, is that they love seeing Ka consume people. It's kind of a thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, everyone has their own little, their kinks, There's, no one should be punished for that. There's nothing wrong with, unless, it's real, your kink is something really, really illegal, then, then no. But, yeah, that's kind of the real reason, is that, some people out there just like watching a snake eat somebody, or someone getting eaten in general. I'm not the right person to try to explain this. Anyway, but yeah, I count Ka as a villain. Anyway. Anyway, that's, sorry. I'm the wrong person to kind of explain this, and I apologize, honestly. But yeah. So, sorry, Carlotta Studios. Hope I, hope I helped, but yeah. I'm going to shut up now and move on to the next question. But thank you, Carlotta. Moving on now to Joel Davis, who asks, what Disney villains would have the best chili recipe? I feel like Hades would be the number one on that one. He would be the one on the number one department, just dunking a bunch of ghost peppers in there, and probably some damn soul as well. Just to give it a little kick. With Dominator being number 2, probably. Second question. What would you like to see would you like to see a second Disney Villain Council in Kingdom Hearts 3? Absolutely. I would love to see a second Disney Villain Council. Maybe have Frollo, Yokai, because I know Big Hero 6 has been announced for Kingdom Hearts 3. I think that, also Gothel. Gothel would be cool. As much as I didn't really care much for Tangled, I think, yeah, I could roll with Gothel. I know Tangled's going to be in this in Kingdom Hearts 3. They revealed that. I don't want Hans. Hans is boring. I could deal with King Candy / Turbo, because I have a feeling, Wreck-It Ralph's going to be in this game, too. Just saying. And, if possible, can we get Bill? Just saying. Anyway. Think of that question. Your third one is, what would Palpatine think of Maleficent? A very dangerous rival. That would be the big thing, is that he would not look at her as an equal. It would be a rival. As in, I made a reference to the Darth Maul story, whatever. You know what I meant if you watch Clone Wars. Anyway, but yeah, they would not look at each other as equals, but rivals. Anyway, so moving on now to, thank you for those questions, Joel Davis. Moving on now to NX57, who asks, do you think Xanatos can manipulate and humiliate Bill Cipher? Probably, yeah. He kind of almost got the one-up on Oberon, the Lord of the Third Race. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure he could, do something of that nature to Bill. Anyway, what do you think is the most underrated Disney villain? I hate to say it, but it's the Horned King. The Horned King, as awesome as he was, voiced by John Hurt, and just how terrifying he was. The Black Cauldron is just, everyone forgets the Black Cauldron. He's so terrifying, he's so scary, he's so intimidating, and just, he does nothing. All he does is resurrect a dead army, and you're still terrified the fuck out of by him. Yeah. Also, I feel like McLeish from Rescuers Down Under is another underrated villain, because again, he plays up that whole, this is a guy you can, honest to God, meet in real life. That poacher who's willing to do anything for his prize and is willing to kill even a kid to, get his way. So, Yeah, that's the scary thing. Anyway, so what else did I want to say? Oh wait, your third question was, would you do a movie about Chernobog? I think they're already doing that. Yeah, I think the movie Night on Bald Mountain is still a go. Yeah, for those who don't know, Disney, announced a few months ago, if not a few months ago, that they were going to be doing a live-action adaptation of Night on Bald Mountain and make it a horror-themed movie. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that's going to go. Because I know he was a villain in Once Upon a Time, but yeah, I digress. So thank you for those questions, NX. Moving on now to ActionFan19, who asks, do you think Demona met Ultron? Would he call her out on her own plans for only humans genocide being flawed? Probably, yeah, and he probably wouldn't care much for organics in general, so Demona would be on his list of people to kill. Second question, how fucked would we be if the Dark Dragon from American Dragon Jake Long got his claws on the Cosmic Cube? Scale of 1 to 10? 20. Yeah. Third question. Here's a casting idea you had. Chow Yun-Fat as Shan Yu for a possible live-action Mulan movie. Your thoughts? Yeah, that's pretty good. That's Chow Yun-Fat as... I've always wanted Chow Yun-Fat as to play the Mandarin. But I could roll with him being Shan Yu. I mean, there is a lot of talk of a live-action Mulan movie somewhere down the road. So yeah, I could roll with this casting. I could honestly roll with it. If not him, there's another great actor in Ip Man, in one of the Ip Man movies, who's this big burly martial artist, and I don't know the actor's name, but he looks like he could be Shan Yu in a movie. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Action Fan. Moving on now to the Gangster Shy Guy, who asks, if Shere Khan and Scar... Alright, I answered this one. What would the... sorry. Second question. What would the Horn King think of the Lich from Adventure Time? I think he would be impressed, but at the same time it would be like with Palpatine and Maleficent, where he wouldn't see an equal, he would see a rival in his way. That's how I kind of see it. So thank you for those questions, Gangster. Moving on now to Jerkwater100, who asks, what would the Disney villains think of the Marvel and Star Wars villains? More rivals, but I think they would be impressed, especially with, in the Star Wars universe with like the likes of Vader and Palpatine and, even Kylo Ren. I think they would be very impressed. And then you got the Marvel side. I think they would just be all terrified of Thanos, honestly. Anyway, second question. In your opinion, who's the most overrated and underrated of Disney villains? I already answered the underrated. Overrated, that's an interesting question. Overrated villains. Well, here's another underrated villain. Zira from Lion King 2. If you look at all the villains for, the villains for the direct-to-DVD sequels to the movies, to the movies, Zira's the only one that's really memorable, because her song, think of this, Scar's song is about getting the hyenas to kill for him. Zira's song is about murdering the entire royal family herself. So there's another underrated villain, if that gives you any perspective. Although, I will admit it's kind of confusing, because weren't all the lionesses against Scar in the movie? Why is there suddenly this sect who, worship Scar? It's freaking weird. Anyway. But getting back to this, overrated villain. I guess Cruella, because, Cruella's another very real villain, but I just felt like, she's never done anything for me, honestly. What is your favorite Disney villain moment? I guess whenever they have a song, that's the crowning achievement, not just for me, but for a lot of people. Anyway. So, thank you for those questions, Jerkwater. Moving on now to the Spawn117, who asks, which of the Disney villains would make a great enemy for the Avengers? Dominator, Bill, Mirage, Toffee as well. Anyway, even the Dark Dragon from American Dragon would also be up there. Alright, what would happen if Maleficent encountered the Witchblade? That would be an awesome fight, I gotta admit. Which villain team would Maleficent be on? Masters of Evil. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Spawn117. Moving on now to Wolfman the Impaler, who asks, Toffee and Xanatos play a game of chess. Who wins? It would have to be a draw, but I would love to see the conversation between the two. I mean, we have literally Jonathan Frakes talking with what's his name? Well, it's Commander Riker having a clever villain conversation with Dexter Morgan. You can't deny that would be awesome. Yeah, Riker and Dexter as a lizard man and billionaire. Tell me I wouldn't be the only one who would want to see that. Anyway. Second question. The Horn King from the Black Cauldron versus Team WTF. Consisting of Triceracop, Peridot, Abridged Nappa, and Strax. Does this lead to secret origin of Lord Hater, which is the Horned King getting so annoyed that he becomes stupid? As much as I would like to see that, I doubt that would be the case, but I think the Horned King would just be completely wrecking their shit backwards. Alright. Wander, the Pines twins, Star and Marco have to deal with Emperor Zurg, Thalog, and Mirage, respectively. How do they manage? Not well. Not well at all. It's gonna be a shit show. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Wolfman the Impaler. Moving on now to Jesse Sutres, who asks, question 1. If you had a chance to swap out any of the Disney out of any Disney film villains with Rogue's exclusively Disney animated shows, past, present, or spin-off or original, which one would you choose and which one would they inhabit? Oh, I guess he means film for... I guess, maybe, I think it would be fun to see Ratigan as a villain for Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Yeah, I could roll with that. I've been wanting to use Ratigan somewhere in this Q&A, bring up Ratigan in somewhere in this Q&A, because I had a huge Vincent Price kick marathon today, so I was like, Vincent Price was a Disney villain? I'm gonna find a way to work this in. This is my train of thought, people. Ugh. If you could create a standalone video game based on the many antagonists that have appeared in movies wherein the player would have to successfully defeat their respective enemies in order to complete the game, how would you approach the narrative of the bad guy's perspective? I don't know. If change the destiny of make the heroes win, as much as I think that would be a cool idea, but I don't know how exactly to approach that. I really don't know how, honestly. Third question. If you could rewrite the plotline to the Disney Channel's movie entitled The Descendants, wherein the writing model similar to HBO's hit TV show Once Upon a Time is the basis for all the... Oh, see, I didn't watch Descendants because at first I thought it was a cool idea, I thought they were going to pitch it as something like The Runaways or Young Avengers, but then I was like, oh no, it's not that at all. So I'm sorry, I'm not the right guy here to answer that question. So thank you for those questions, Jesse. Moving on now to that guy with the tripod who asks, who is your favorite Disney villain? Again, I already answered this one. Which Disney movie villain would you like to see get their own movie? Jafar. Jafar would be one. I've kind of given up on a Frollo live-action movie because I feel like that would be way too dark. Yeah, that would just be way, way too dark to fully do as a big film. Yeah, so I'm kind of giving up all hope on that. Maybe I'd even be cool with a Captain Hook movie and a Scar movie and a Ursula. I'd even be cool with an Ursula Origins movie. Third question: who is the perfect villain for the Crystal Gems in Steven Universe? Lord Dominator. She just screams Steven Universe villain. So thank you for those questions, that guy. Moving on now to Burnouter7, who asks, what would Maleficent and Dr. Facilier's backstories be if they were in the Danny Phantom Rogues Gallery? Maybe Dr. Facilier, he made a deal with the voodoo spirits, and he got killed for it, and now he's come back as like a voodoo priest ghost, which would be kind of awesome. I'm surprised. I'm pretty sure that we would have seen something like that in Danny Phantom had it not been canceled early. As for Maleficent, I would say like a dark spirit who was like the creator of the dragon necklaces, something like that. Maybe, I don't know. Alright, this one's more of a Disney Heroes of what would Darkwing Duck think of Underdog and Danger Mouse. Yeah, that's Disney Heroes. We're talking about Disney villains here, Burnouter. Sorry. Anyway, third question. What Disney villain do you find the most entertaining to watch? If by entertaining you mean completely stupid and hilarious to watch, Lord Hater, Draken, and Doofenshmirtz. Just of how hilariously bad they can be. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Burnouter. Moving on now to Pseudo Aku 298, who asks, what do you think of the following Disney villain fusion ideas, and how stable do you think they could be? Shere Khan and Scar, Frollo and Mother Gothel, Ursula and Davy Jones, Lord Hadir, Oogie Boogie, Emperor Zurg, and Toffee, Snoke, and Xenorod. Again, I always mispronounce that fucking name. God damn it. None of them would probably last long. I don't even know what they would look like, although I would imagine Scar and Shere Khan's fusion would look something like a Liger, only a more fabulous-looking Liger. Second question. Top 5 Disney villain death battles you would like to see? Or, do you mean like versus matches in Death Battle, or Disney villains I'd like to see in Death Battle? Because I've already got 5 lined up. I'd like to see Mirage, Bill, Dominator. Shere Khan would be interesting. I don't know who you could pit him against. Shan Yu and Mosenrath. There you go. No, better yet, Thailog. Thailog would be better. Alright, third question. If Vlad Plasmius were a Disney villain, what movie would you put him in, and how would the characters react to him? Could he actually win there? If Vlad was a villain, I would say he would probably be maybe... Who would he a villain to? Who would he be an enemy to? That is a tough one. That is a... Oy. Maybe Sleeping Beauty, I don't know. I'm just shot in the dark right there. Could he win? Probably. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Pseudo Aku. Moving on to One of None, who asks, who would win, Tyrek versus Maleficent? I think I would give it to Tyrek because he can absorb magic, and that's kind of Maleficent's whole shtick. So, gotta give it to Tyrek. So, second question: do you think Hook should have more motive that more than his hand getting bit off that makes him a bad guy? He's a pirate. I think he's bad enough, but that's why I'd like to see maybe a Hook origin story. That'd be cool. So, third question: would you like Negaduck to be the main antagonist in the Darkwing reboot? Absolutely. It's his arch nemesis. Of course I would. Anyway. Sorry, to get some more water. Moving on now to Andre Partridge, who asks, who do you think is the funniest Disney villain? Probably Hater. It's a tie between Lord Hater and Doofenshmirtz. Those two, man. Anyway. Second question, who is your favorite female Disney villain? Now, you'd think I'd say Dominator, but really it's Demona, because that character is so complex. There's so many great stories to her. Yeah, Demona's favorite female Disney villain, with Mirage at number 2. Dominator would be at number 3. Which Disney villain from the Disney sequels is the best? Zira. Zira from Lion King 2. Like I said before, this is a character who literally did a song about brutally murdering the royal family. I mean, yeah, the backstory of why their lioness is still loyal to Scar, even though he treated the whole kingdom like shit, I don't know. But yeah, she was a badass villain who had all these great steps. It's pretty cool. She was pretty cool. Anyway. Anyway. Thank you for those questions, Andre. Moving on now to Christopher Rosa, who asks, did you know that It was originally going to be revealed that Dr. Facilier, commonly known as the Shadow Man from Princess of the Frog, is also Mama Odie's son. And if so, what do you think of this? And do you think what would happen between if the two characters battled? I heard that thing too, or it was originally going to be that way, but I guess they just didn't have enough. I guess it was I guess they thought it was a cool idea, but then just kind of dropped it. I think they would have added more depth, actually. But anyway. Alright, what do you think of the Huntsmaster from American Dragon would think of Oroku Saki the Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Man, the Hunts Clan versus the Foot would be awesome. I would love to see that. That would be nothing short of just pure frickin' win right there. Anyway, third question. Okay, your third question is, I've been thinking about a possible Freudian excuse and background for Gideon Charles Gleeful from Gravity Falls. According to the series creators, Gideon was a normal child until he found his journal, but because he was normal did not mean he was a good person. Also, according to Alex Hirsch, Gideon had been a spoiled brat his entire life and was used to getting what he wanted until the Pine twins entered his life. My guess is that he found the journal was a normally spoiled brat at Pacifica level, but when he gained the journal, he started to gain the power over his parents, and also Gideon was very intelligent and as a child star. And that could also have influenced Gideon personally. What do you think of my idea and his background? Yeah, I could believe every word of that. I could honestly believe that backstory and follow it. So, absolutely. Anyway. So, thank you for those questions. Christopher Rosa, moving on now to Jake Gross, who asks, what is your opinion on Dr. Facilier? I like him. I really do. I really like him. What Disney villain do you personally find the most vile? Again, favorite Disney villain, Frollo. For all the reasons I aforementioned earlier. Third question. When you think about A Bug's Life, did Hopper and those grasshoppers basically seem like an insect version of those stereotypical movie bikers that terrorize a small town to you? Yeah, that's true. They did remind me a lot of, the whole Let's Ride thing, in all. But really, fun fact, they're actually based off of the bandits from Seven Samurai. Because here's the thing, Bug's Life is actually heavily influenced from Seven Samurai. Hell, apparently the bugs were supposed to be old warrior bugs who would just, who got tired of losing wars, but Disney asked them to change them into circus to circus people. So that was, Bug's Life is literally an animated Seven Samurai. Anyway, but no, I can see where you're coming from. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Jake Gross. Moving on now to Linerman0245, who asks, would every Disney villain be disgusted by Ramsay Bolton or Joffrey more? Yeah, they'd be pretty disgusted and just want to punch them in the face every time. Just every time. Second question, would every Disney villain, Xanatos included, ever dare use the Crossed or other forms like them for an evil plot of theirs? I don't know. Some of them are pretty crazy. I'm pretty sure Demona would use the Crossed in some form. So, yeah, that'd probably happen. Third question: the Disney villains are stuck listening to bad puns said by SpongeBob and Patrick in a room, and they can't use their weapons or powers. How are they get out of this situation? They go 127 hours on SpongeBob and Patrick's necks. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Linerman0245. Moving on now to MSW Dark Angel. Okay, hello, Angel. Let's see what you got for me. First question. What would Loki think of members of Organization 13, and could you imagine him being a villain in a later Kingdom Hearts game? Yeah, I could, and there's a lot of heavy talk for, Marvel and Star Wars being in Kingdom Hearts 3, so I think it's a possibility we may see him. I think it's a possibility. Second question. Imagine this scenario. If Demona uses the Phoenix Gate to go back in time and somehow crossed over into the Beast Wars universe, how do you imagine that would happen if Megatron got his hands on the Phoenix Gate? Nothing but bad would happen. That's the sad part of it. Nothing bad would happen. Nothing good, excuse me, nothing good. Third question. Which Disney villains could you see crossing over into Doctor Who universe and actually being a considerable threat to the Doctor? Mirage would be a major contender along with Bill, and Dominator also feels like a Doctor Who villain, so she would too. Toffee as well. Toffee and the Doctor would play a major game of wits between the two. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Dark Angel. Moving on now to Fox Mulder, who asks, what's your favorite Disney villain song? Hellfire. I know it's a generic answer, but Hellfire, dude. Hellfire. It's an awesome song. Second question, which do you think is the most underrated Disney villain song? I guess it would be a tie between Mine, 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 sung by Governor Ratcliffe from Pocahontas, and My Lullaby from Lion King 2. Because that song is pretty dark, as I mentioned earlier. Alright. Who is the best, worst villain you've ever seen? Worst villain would be Hans from Frozen, because that twist comes out the fuck nowhere, and I don't care. And, yeah. Best villain? Again, Frollo. Alright, thank you for those questions, Fox. Moving on now to Darth Nerdum, who asks, what if Bill made Bill made a deal with Swindle from Transformers to get an extra-dimensional rift, but what if Swindle fell for one of Bill's tricks to see him as a trickster he is, and who would he sell the rift to? Who would Swindle sell the rift to? Probably someone just as bad, honestly. Give me your Dungeons & Dragons character alignment chart of Disney villains, and by chart I mean specifically the evil part, and what would you give the characters a line? Go for it. See, I've never really been a big Dungeons & Dragons guy. I've tried a few times, but I just haven't found the right, I've never really played the whole game through. I know that sometimes never happens, but I don't know, I just want to play a whole game through. I've never really gotten into it, So, But what would I think, like, in terms of, I can't really do I know what you're talking about, the chaotic good, the neutral good, the chaotic evil. Chaotic evil, honestly, though, I think that would go to Bill. Neutral evil would probably be Xanatos, and I can't remember what the less evil one is. Like, evil would be Toffee. So, there you go. Alright, thank you for those questions, Darth Nerdum. Moving on now to Brian Cam, who asks, if Demona and Macbeth arrive in Kingdom of Arendelle from Frozen, what kind of story could you come up with? Demona tries to use Elsa's powers to freeze the Earth? I don't know. With Frozen 2 coming out, what kind of villains could you come up with for the sequel? Maybe the Ice Queen? I don't know, like from Once Upon a Time, maybe? I don't know. Third question. Do you think Maleficent would make a good villain for Frozen characters, particularly Elsa? Yeah, I could see it. I'm not the biggest Frozen guy, so I'm just kind of meandering through these questions. I'm sorry. I've just never really been big Frozen guy. I mean, I liked it when it came out, but then I was like, yeah, it's a little overrated. Alright. Thank you for those questions, Brian. Thank you for those questions regardless, Brian. And moving on now to Nicholas Harley, who asks, Bill and his henchmaniacs unleash Weirdmageddon on Beach City. How will Steven and the Gems stop them? That is a tough one. But I think they could pull through, fighting through all those demons and whatnot. They could probably do it. They could, there might be a chance they could pull through here. So second question, Jafar, Negaduck, and Maleficent versus Lord Beerus. Who wins? Beerus? The guy's the frickin' god of destruction. I'm pretty sure the other those three together would not even be able to have a dent in his power. Third question, Ursula meets King Shark from DC. What happens? King Shark eats calamari tonight. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Nicholas Harley. Moving on now to Mike Root, who asks, out of all the Disney villains from movies and cartoons, who do you think were the biggest flaws in their plans of taking over the world? I would go to Draken. He didn't think of the overs. He didn't really think of the big picture, along with Hater, who doesn't think of a picture at all. So, yeah, that would be those two. Second question. What Disney villains would you pick to be mentor to Mojo, Aku, Mr. Burns, Invader Zim, Deathstroke? I wouldn't say mentors to any of them, really. They're all evil in their own right. They don't need to be schooled in terms of villainy, so they don't need it. That's how I kind of view it. Although, admittedly, I think Jasper could be someone's henchman, and that henchman she'd be working for is probably Mirage or Dominator. Think of those questions. Mike, moving on now to... Well, I guess in terms of another henchman, well, I guess mentor would be... Man. Dominator would have to have a lot of work with Zim. Anyway, staying with those questions, Mike, moving on now to Sora versus Ka. What if Maleficent met Demona? Those two would not get along. Just no. There would be no getting along between those two. It just would not. No. Not happening. Alright, second question. What if Loki and Hades met and joined forces against Thor and Hercules? Probably would not last long. Those two rival gods from two different pantheons, yeah, those two would not get along, and the banter would be hilarious. Second question. What do you think of Ka and Shere Khan in Jungle Book 2016? See, I still haven't seen the movie yet, unfortunately. And I know a lot of people want me to see the movie and review it. Fortunately, I just can't, I can't just go to a theater, because I don't really come around a lot of money lately. So, yeah, I can't really go to the theater all the time and see a lot of movies. That's just the way it is. Anyway. So think of those questions. Sora versus Ka. Moving on now to Shockwave Spider, who asks, do you think Lord Hater idolizes Skeletor? Yes. I'm pretty sure he does. Second question. Which Disney villains from animated shows and Pixar would you love to see appear in Kingdom Hearts 3 and have a boss battle? You said Zurg is a boss battle. Yeah, I could see Zurg would be a cool boss battle. Bill would be an awesome boss battle. Shan Yu. Well, we already did Shan Yu, sorry. Shere Khan would be a fun boss battle. Yeah, Shere Khan would be pretty frickin' sweet. I guess, yeah, Dominator would be another one. Demona would be a great one. Mirage. Ozenrath. One of the animated series villains. Maybe even a Bug's Life, where you could do a Bug's version of yourself and fight Hopper. That'd be fun. And yeah, Yokai would be a cool. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get Yokai as a boss battle because I already know Big Hero 6 is going to be in Kingdom Hearts 3, so that's probably a given. Third question: if you could revamp any Disney villains to make them better villains like Lord Hater, what would you do? Probably nothing, because I like all these villains just the way they are, unfortunately. I just really like them. Sometimes you need serious villains, and other times you just need total idiots. Anyway, sorry, I had to get some water. Think of those questions. Shockwave Spider, moving on now to May Sun, who asks, have you seen or heard about Disney Descendants? And if so, what are your thoughts on it? Again, I didn't really see a lot of it, and I wasn't impressed by what I saw. Sorry. Your second question is, what if Jafar met Dr. Doom? I think Doom outclasses Jafar in terms of magic. Then again, he did get turned into a djinn, so I don't know. That's a tough one. Anyway, thank you for those questions, May Sun. Moving on now to Cody Bradish, who asks, which Disney villains do you think would make good villains for MLP? Mirage, definitely. Mirage. That's the one. I've actually talked about her as a villain for MLP, actually, so her definitely above all else. And Bill. And Ursula would be another one. Ursula would definitely be one. Scar, Shere Khan, they'd be good too. Second question. Which Disney villains would do you find the most intimidating? Shere Khan, I'm going to go by movies here. Shere Khan, Horned King, Frollo, and Ratigan. Alright. What would some of these Disney villains think of Darth Sidious, and what would he in turn think of them? Again, all rivals. All rivals to his power. So thank you for those questions, Cody. Moving on now to Media Detective, who asks, how do you think Bill and the God Hand would interact? Oh, it'd be all-out war. Just total, all-out, bloody war between Bill and the God Hand. What's funnier, Guts walks into Gaston's bar and punches him right in the face because he annoys him, or Steven Universe making fun of Maleficent saying horrible reputation of the original representation of the original character? I think it would be funnier, but instead of punching Gaston in the face, Guts takes out his sword and just kills everyone in the bar. Yeah. Alright. Do you think Kraven the Hunter would mock Clayton for his hunting tactics? Oh yeah, he would walk up to his, walk up to his hung corpse and go, ha ha ha, you should have cut the one around your neck. I'm smarter. I'm smarter. Anyway. So, thank you for those questions, Media Detective. Moving on now to Andrew Schaefer, who asks, Maleficent has summoned Heartless and Gravity Falls. Do Dipper and Mabel gain Keyblades to fight them off? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely, yes they do. Jafar versus Mirage from Aladdin. Who's the better villain? Probably Mirage because, yeah, she's literally evil incarnate. Jafar may be powerful, and I think he's still a Jinn after Return of Jafar. No, I think he went to hell, but he still kept some of his power. But yeah, his power is dwarfed by Mirage, honestly. Do you believe the theory that Mother Gothel from Tangled was once a student of Maleficent? I don't know where that theory came from. Honestly, I really don't. But, yeah, sure, whatever. Alright. Thank you for those questions, Andrew Schaefer. Moving on now to RoboKaiju75, who asks, do you think that Shere Khan from Jungle Book should be a boss fight in Kingdom Hearts 3? If so, how would you do it? Yeah, like I said earlier, yeah, he would make a cool boss fight for Kingdom Hearts 3. How would I do it? That is a tough question. That is a tough question right there. Maybe have it that Shere Khan would ever, like, it would probably be like the boss fight from Scar, except he would probably have a lot more. Shere Khan would probably have a lot more HP, as well as, I think, like, whenever he swipes you, it takes a lot of damage. Whenever he roars, he can summon more Heartless to his side. Something like that. Anyway, second question. What would Dr. Draken from Kim Possible think of Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb? Oh, the banter would be awesome. Just the banter, like the idiotic banter between the two, that would be nothing short of fucking hilarious. In fact, I'm kind of surprised, there wasn't a Kim Possible Phineas and Ferb crossover, because for a time there was a time when Phineas and Ferb and Kim Possible were on the same state. They're both Disney, obviously, but they were both on Disney Channel. They were both on Disney Channel, and the creators of the show, I think I heard somewhere that they wanted to do a KP crossover, but they weren't able, like Disney said no for some reason, and yet they got the Marvel and Star Wars crossovers. Go figure. But no, that'd be pretty fun. Alright. Third question. Do you think Robert Downey Jr. would make a good David Xanatos in a Gargoyles live-action movie? Do I think that? Nah, I don't see it. I mean, could it work? Yeah, it could, but me personally, I just can't see it. Anyway, so that's all the questions. Also, RoboKaiju, the reason why I answer your questions last is mostly because you're the first one to answer, and I go by up to down, not down to up. So, That's kind of why I answer your question. Your questions are usually answered last. But anyway, so yeah, that is all the questions right there. I want to thank everyone who sent in questions. This was a lot of fun. And once again, if I did not answer someone's question, that usually means it was not answered. But thank you all so much for this. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, that's all I can say. So once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.